Okay, ladies and gents, it is that time of the year once again. Premier League predictions 2021-2022. Let's get straight into this, shall we? So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this video as much as I am looking forward to the Premier League season starting on Friday night. I'm really looking forward to it starting now. Brentford versus Arsenal under the lights on Friday Night Football in Brentford's first ever Premier League match. But of course, before we get into these predictions, a quick disclaimer, and yes, I am making excuses already. Can you just leave me off? Obviously, the transfer window doesn't close for another like 3 odd weeks, so there's still a lot of information regarding these teams that are missing at this moment in time and are yet to be discovered in the transfer window, because one team I predict to do badly could sign 2 or 3 players and just shoot up the table, and equally as well, one team that I think is going to do well could actually lose 2 or 3 players or get a few injuries and plummet down the table. So yes, I am making excuses already, but yeah, without further ado, I'm going to make these predictions now based on the knowledge and the information we have at our disposal at this moment in time. So yeah, let's get into it. Starting off with the bottom team in the Premier League, and the team I think is going to finish rock bottom of the Premier League, and I think that is going to be Watford. Now, the reason I think Watford are going to do poorly, first of all, I think that their squad depth overall and the quality of the players they do have in their squad, I think is one of the weakest in the league, to be honest with you. They signed Imran Louza from Nantes, they've signed Josh King, Emmanuel Dennis, Danny Rose, Juraj Kucka, Peter Atebo on loan from Stoke, which are, a few okay signings really. But yeah, to be honest, they could still lose Will Hughes, they could even lose Nathaniel Chalobah as well, and even though Xisco Munoz, did a really good job to get Watford into the Premier League last season, a really good defensive record with them last season, I would bet my bottom dollar, to be honest, that he's going to be gone by probably even Halloween, to be honest, at the latest. And yeah, I think it will be a tough season ahead for Watford. As I said, I don't think they have enough quality to stay up in the Premier League. They could prove me wrong, very much so, but yeah, I've gone for Watford to finish bottom of the Premier League, so yeah, sorry Watford fans. And now, of course, the team I think is also going to go down alongside Watford in 19th, and I've gone for a bit of a shocking one, but at the same time maybe not, because I've seen a few people predict this team to go down. I've gone for Southampton. Now, first of all, the main reason why is because the back end of last season was absolutely horrendous. I'm pretty sure they only won 2 Premier League games in this whole calendar year so far. Secondly as well, they've lost Danny Ings, their main source of goals, pretty much their only source of goals, to be honest, because Danny Ings at this moment in time is a 20 goal a season Premier League striker. He was influential, his goals were influential in Southampton for the last 2 seasons, so missing him is going to be massive for them. And even though they've replaced him with Adam Armstrong from Blackburn and Armando Broja on loan from Chelsea, who I think both will do okay to a certain extent, I just think Southampton won't have enough firepower. I think their squad is too thin as well in terms of quality of depth as well. They could still lose James Ward-Prowse as well, even though at this moment in time it doesn't look like he's going to leave, but you never even would know if he's going to leave the next 3 weeks or not. And yeah, even though I do like Ralph Hasenhüttl as a manager, I just think that it's going down for Southampton, and I think that definitely things look bleak for them at this moment in time. And to be honest, I just think Southampton are going to have not enough to stay in the Premier League this season, and that's why I think they will finish 19th. And now to the final relegated team in my personal opinion, and maybe a bit of a gamble, but to be honest, I just can't see past Newcastle going down this season, if I'm being perfectly honest, simply because of the reason they haven't strengthened their squad whatsoever from last season at this moment in time. And I know people will say, oh, they signed Joe Willock on a permanent deal, but obviously, he was there last season. He was one of the main reasons why they survived relegation last season. And I think the main things for Newcastle, if they want to survive next season, is in the hands of 3 players: Alan Saint-Maximin, Callum Wilson up front, and of course Joe Willock as well. I think there are 3 main players for Newcastle next season. Even an injury to one of them could completely derail their season. Steve Bruce, I really don't rate as a manager in the modern day game. I think his tactics are absolutely horrendous. Newcastle play some of the worst football in the league I've ever seen in a long time in the league. And yeah, of course, with that takeover, postponed until next summer, I think it's really worrying times for Newcastle at this moment in time. I really feel bad for their fan base, and I really do want them to do well. But yeah, as I said, I can't look past Newcastle going down simply because of the reasons I've just mentioned. I think their squad is really, really weak for Premier League level, and yeah, that confirms it. My prediction: Newcastle, Southampton and Watford to all face the drop this season. And now into 17th, marginally surviving relegation by the skins of their teeth in my personal opinion. We've gone for Norwich City, of course, a club I know very well, as I keep mentioning on this channel. My brother is a Norwich fan, so I do keep tabs on their info. Now, the reason I think Norwich are going to survive, and of course a lot of people will disagree because they'll say Norwich are a yo-yo club, and obviously they still have the memory fresh in their minds from 1920 when they went down, without really anything to show for. The squad is a lot different compared to then, because first of all, back then they didn't strengthen enough. I think this season they've really strengthened with Christoph Solis, who's coming in, Josh Sargent up front, Billy Gilmour on loan, Pierre-Lise Malou, Milo Rashica as well. Even though they've lost Buendia, I think they've replaced them really, really well. They probably are one centre back away from actually, completing their transfer business, to be honest with you. And yeah, of course, players like Pookie and Cantwell and Max Aarons and Tim Krul, who have 1 more year of experience in the Premier League, and they know what the league is like after, suffering in the last time out. Daniel Farke, I think, will finally get things right. They play some good football, Norwich, and I think there's a positive vibe around Norwich at this moment in time, and that is why I think they'll survive. And to be honest, I think they're more likely to finish higher than 17th than under it. So yeah, Norwich in 17th in my opinion. Now on to 16th place, and yeah, a pretty bog standard one here, Burnley. Even though they've done no business whatsoever apart from signing Nathan Collins and of course a boring transfer, Wayne Hennessy coming in as Nick Pope's understudy. And to be honest, I think Burnley probably have the weakest squad depth in the Premier League at this moment in time. They have 2 wingers, and one of them in Johan Berg Gudmundsson is always on the treatment table with injury. I think Burnley need a few more signings, to add to their squad, because their depth, as I said, said, is absolutely really weak at this moment in time. The only reason I'm giving them a prayer of staying up comfortably is because Sean Dyche is just an absolute master. He's done absolute wonders at Burnley, and it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if he was gone at the end of his contract at the end of the season, because he deserves so much better than what he's getting there. But yeah, simply because of Sean Dyche, I think Burnley will stay up. However, I think if Sean Dyche was to leave throughout the season, I think Burnley would definitely be going down. But because Sean Dyche is still there at this moment in time, I'm predicting them to survive in 16th. And then on to 15th place, and one that might surprise a few of you. I've gone for Wolves. Now, obviously, Nuno Espirito Santo has gone onto new pastures with Tottenham Hotspur, and there is rumours as well. It does look like Bruno Lage will play a 4-4-2 system, even though it looks like they've played 3 at the back during pre-season. It does look like Bruno Lage will go with 4-4-2 for the majority of the season, because that's obviously his preferred formation at previous clubs. And I think Wolves might struggle to, adapt to that 4-4-2 system, because obviously, the bulk of their squad is used to playing a 3 at the back system. They signed players like Francisco Trincao on loan from Barcelona. They've also got Jose Sa, of course, in goal, who replaced, Rui Patricio, who has joined Jose Mourinho at Roma in the Serie A. And yeah, to be honest, there's just something about Wolves. They have quality players like Raul Jimenez, who's back from injury at long last, Pedro Neto, João Moutinho, and those kind of players. But yeah, to be honest, there's just something about Wolves at this moment in time that makes me feel like they're not going to do well this season, and that's why I'm going to put them in 15th. It's going to be a pretty poor season for Wolves. I think Bruno Lage will do an okay job to a certain extent, but yeah, 15th place for Wolves in my opinion. And now on to 14th place in the Premier League, and definitely one that's going to surprise you, because I was ridiculed last year for putting them low on the table simply because of the fact they massively exceeded my expectations. I've gone with West Ham in 14th, and let me just explain why for a second. First of all, don't underestimate the pressures of Europa League football. Obviously, West Ham are going to have to play in the Europa League this season, and yes, I know they have a very good squad, but overall I think their squad depth is a little bit lacking at this moment in time. They've only really signed Alphonse Areola, and they're looking to sign Nikola Milenkovic from Fiorentina for 14 million. So I think if they were to add a few more players, they could do well, but Europa League is going to be a massive task on West Ham, simply because of the fact it's not like Arsenal or Spurs. West Ham will be going all out in all those games and playing the likes of Declan Rice and Mikel Antonio and Thomas Soucek and those players. And I think West Ham won't be able to do the same thing as they did last season without Jesse Lingard as well, who doesn't look like he's going to be going there, and obviously he massively contributed to West Ham's charge for the Champions League late last season. So yeah, unfortunately for me, I think West Ham are going to be in 14th place. I think they'll suffer a little bit of second season syndrome, which most teams do after they finish high up in the table unexpectedly. So yeah, West Ham in 14th for me. And now on to 13th, a team that I thought was going to get relegated before the transfer window because of all the ingoings and outgoings at the club at this moment in time, but the transfer business they've done has massively changed my opinion, and that is of course Crystal Palace, now managed by Patrick Vieira. They've ditched the boring pragmatic approach of Roy Hodgson. They're now playing on the ball football with Patrick Vieira. They've signed players like Mark Gahey, Joaquim Anderson, Michael Elise. They've got Conor Gallagher on loan. They're looking at players like Ademola Lookman as well. Crystal Palace I think are going to really excite a few teams. It might take them a little bit of time to adjust to all the new faces and obviously the style of play, because it's completely different now to what they're playing under Patrick Vieira, but even still players like Wilfred Zaha and Tyreek Mitchell and Eberechi Eze when he comes back from injury will help to speeden that process. And I think Crystal Palace, they might struggle towards the start, of course, with all the change that has happened, and obviously Patrick Vieira being quite an inexperienced manager at this level, but I think Crystal Palace will pick it back up, play some decent football towards the end of the season, and will finish in 13th. And now on to 12th place, we've got the final promoted team, and of course it is Brentford. Now I've seen a lot of people predict that Brentford are going to get relegated this season, which really bewilders me at this moment in time, how people haven't copped onto the fact that well-run clubs like Brentford just do not go down in the first season. Obviously Ivan Toney is going to be massive pressure on his shoulders, but I think he will be able to thrive off that pressure and actually bang in a few goals this season. I think he'll hit double digits, to be honest. They've made signings like Christopher Ayer and Frank Onyeka and Johan Wissa, who I think will be very good, because of course Brentford's strategy in the transfer window is always very, very good. And I think the main thing that is going for Brentford this season is the fact that that momentum in your first ever Premier League season, the fans will be on their side. There'll be a lot of momentum, a lot of positive energy and adrenaline in the system of these Brentford players, and of course the manager in Thomas Frank, and that is the main reason why I think Brentford will finish so high in the Premier League, and that's why I'm tipping them to finish 12th, if not even higher. And now on to 11th place, and definitely one of the most shocking ones, and definitely the most shocking prediction I'm sure you guys will think so far in this video. 11th place, I've gone with Graham Potter and Brighton Hove Albion, simply because of the fact, yes, I know everyone goes on about the XG, etc., and if XG, came into play, Brighton would have finished 5th in the Premier League last season if they had a proper number 9 that was going to bang in the goals. And obviously they've sold Ben White for £50 million, but I think they'll replace him. They're linked with the likes of, Mason Holgate and Nat Phillips from Liverpool, who I think would be decent replacements for him. They've signed Enoch Mwepu as well, who's going to be a really good player alongside Yves Bissouma in that Brighton midfield. They're looking at Darwin Núñez and someone like Eddie Nketiah or Odsonne Edouard to play up front. And if they were to get a striker who was going to score, 10 to 15 goals next season, I really do back Brentford to even exceed 11th and probably finish up in the top half of the Premier League table, to be honest, because I think the football Brighton play and the chances they create, defensively they're really solid as well, with Robert Sanchez in goal and Lewis Dunk and Adam Webster, etc. I think Brighton are going to have a good season, because I think they'll get the striker signing right if they sign someone like Núñez or Nketiah or Edouard, as I said. So I think Brighton are going to surprise a lot of people and finish 11th place in the Premier League next season. But if they don't get that striker, it could be another poor season in the likes of 14th or 15th or 16th for Brighton next season. So yeah, it really depends on the striker they sign. And now now we move on to the top half, and we move on to 10th place, and I've gone for Aston Villa. I know a lot of people do think Aston Villa are going to finish high up the table because they've got the transfer business really good with Leon Bailey, Emi Buendia, Danny Ings. They've also got Ashley Young and Axel Tuanzebe as well, defensive signings and defensive cover for the defence they do have. But to be honest, I think the main reason why Aston Villa won't challenge for Europe this season is because of course, Jack Grealish moving to Man City, and obviously they've spent that money really well and probably will replace Jack Grealish in other areas as well and still spend a lot more money with one or two more signings this window. But I think if Jack Grealish was to stay at Aston Villa this season, I think Aston Villa would definitely finish in, 6th, maybe even 5th, maybe even qualifying for the Champions League, to be honest, because I think he's that important. We saw at the back end of last season when he was injured how much Aston Villa struggled. I think Danny Ings and Emi Buendia will be massive signings. I think that, Leon Bailey will be a very good signing in the long run, but will actually start off quite slowly. But yeah, Aston Villa have a really strong squad. I think that Dean Smith is a very good manager at this level, and I think Aston Villa will finish 10th. And yeah, who knows, maybe if the squad adjusts with likes of Bailey and Ings, etc., and if Watkins catches fire next season and Buendia gets into his rhythm, maybe Villa could challenge for Europe. But at this moment in time, I'm going to finish them in 10th place. And now on to 9th. Finishing 9th for the second season running, in my personal opinion, is Marcelo Bielsa and Leeds United. One of the main teams I think that, won't suffer from second season syndrome like Sheffield United did last season. I think a manager like Bielsa will, prevent that from happening, because Bielsa is just a world-class manager. He really is, especially with the tools he's been given. The fact that Leeds United will have a full capacity as well, like every team. I think Elland Road will be absolutely rocking this season. It's the first time it'll be full in the Premier League era since 2004. And yeah, they've signed Junior Firpo on loan from Barcelona. It looks like they're going to make a few more signings as well. They've managed to keep hold of Calvin Phillips and Rafinha and Patrick Bamford, and they're crucial players. So yeah, overall I feel like it'll be a decent season for Leeds. Once again, similar to last season in terms of the fact that the high energy football, attacking from the get-go from minute 0 to minute 90. I think they'll once again be the entertainers in the middle of the table. And yeah, I'm predicting big things once again for Leeds in 9th place, maybe even higher if they get their transfer business right for the next 3 weeks. And on to 8th place, and maybe one that's going to surprise a lot of people as well, because I've seen a lot of people, predicting them to finish lower in the table because they lost Carlo Ancelotti and probably going to lose James Rodriguez as well. Everton, I predicted to come in 8th place in the Premier League, and I'll tell you the reason why. Because yes, I know there's a lot of tension, of course, between the Everton fans and their relationship and, their hatred really towards Rafa Benitez. They really don't like him for obvious reasons. But I think Everton have a really good squad with the likes of Alan and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who I think will flourish under Rafa Benitez's system, because of course Rafa Benitez is a very pragmatic manager. However, he knows his stuff, he knows his football, he's a very good tactician, and I think he will get the best out of this Everton squad. You have to remember as well, he finished 10th place with Newcastle in 17-18, and this Everton team he has is, tenfold better than that Newcastle squad he inherited in 17-18. So I think Everton will have quite a decent season at this moment in time, and obviously the transfer business with Begovic and Andros Townsend and Damari Gray hasn't really flattered really. But I think Everton will make one or two decent signings between now and the end of the window. They probably will lose James Rodriguez, as I said, but to be honest, I think Everton will have quite a positive season overall, and I think we'll finish 8th. And now we move on to 7th place, and for me in 7th it's going to be a team taking one step up from, of course, 2 back-to-back 8th place finishes. Of course, it is Arsenal under Mikel Arteta's guidance. Now obviously pre-season hasn't gone right whatsoever for Arsenal, even though they've made a few good signings like Ben White for 50 million, Albert Sambi-Lokonga looks like a decent player. I think Nuno Tavares will be a good understudy for Kieran Tierney at left back. I do think Arsenal will sign either Martin Odegaard or James Maddison on a permanent deal, which obviously is the main thing they need, because the main thing for them is getting a creative player in to set up chances for likes of Saka, Aubameyang, Lacazette and Pepe, etc. And overall, to be honest, I don't think Mikel Arteta will last the full season. To be honest, I can see Arsenal really struggling for the first half of the season and then getting a manager in. But yeah, I think it'll be another one of those, not really great seasons for Arsenal overall. But to be honest, I don't think they're expecting anything more than, probably 6th place, to be honest, Arsenal fans this season with what they've seen in recent years. It's just a matter of whether the likes of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and those kind of players can get firing again, because if Aubameyang hits 20 goals like he did the previous season, I think Arsenal could actually exceed expectations and maybe even, challenge for top 4 in extreme cases. But to be honest, I just think Arsenal will level out in 7th place, and I think it will be another kind of one of those stale seasons in transition once again for Mikel Arteta's men. And now we move on to the top 6, and yeah, in 6th place I've gone with the other North London team. I've gone with Tottenham Hotspur. Now first of all, the main reason why I'm putting Spurs ahead of Arsenal, because obviously, Arsenal do not have European football this season, which will give them somewhat an advantage over Spurs, who do play in the Europa Conference League. I think Spurs have made some very good signings so far, with Christian Romero obviously coming in for around £50 million, Brian Yil coming in from Valencia, and I think overall Spurs have a much better squad than Arsenal, with likes of Heung-min Son and Tanguy Ndombele and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, and those kind of players. Hugo Lloris in goal is very good, and obviously it remains to be seen whether Harry Kane will be a Spurs player by the end of the window, and especially if Harry Kane stays at Spurs, I think they'll 110% finish above Arsenal. But even still, if he leaves, I see Spurs signing someone like Lautaro Martinez or Dusan Vlahovic to replace him, which I think will be a very good signing for them, and for that reason I think Spurs, because of the fact they have a better squad than Arsenal, will finish in 6th place in the Premier League. And now on to 5th place, and the team marginally missing out on Champions League football by the skins of their teeth in my personal opinion. I'm definitely going to be a massively shocking one for you lot, and I'm definitely going to get a lot of stick in the comment section below for this one, but I've gone with Liverpool in 5th place, and just hear me out on this one. So obviously everyone expects, that the top 4 is going to be the standard Chelsea, City, United and Liverpool, but the main reason why I've put Liverpool in 5th place is not even because of their own fault, to be honest, because I just have a feeling that Leicester, after missing out on Champions League marginally by the skins of their teeth in the last 2 seasons, I just have a feeling they're going to finally break into the top 4 this season. And that means, of course, one of those 4 teams I did mention is going to have to drop out and finish in 5th. And to be honest, I think at this moment of time, the most likely team to do that is Liverpool, with the lack of transfer activity. They've only signed Ibrahima Konate as a centre-back from Leipzig, and even though he will be a very good signing for them, I don't think it's enough whatsoever for Liverpool with a very ageing squad. It remains to be seen whether Virgil van Dijk will actually be able to come back to full fitness and, be like he was a few years ago before the injury. Sadio Mane misfired last season, Roberto Firmino misfired last season. There's a lot of uncertainty at this moment around Liverpool Football Club, and to be honest, I think they're the most likely club to miss out on top 4 instead of Chelsea, City or United. So yeah, I've gone with Liverpool in 5th, and yeah, I'll probably get this prediction massively wrong because Liverpool could even finish higher than 4th, to be honest, but yeah, I've put my balls on the line here. I'm going to go Liverpool in 5th place, which of course leaves in 4th place, getting into the Champions League at long last, Leicester City under Brendan Rodgers. Now obviously the main reason why I think Leicester will get into the Champions League is because I think they've finally, surely now learned the lesson after 2 years of bottling the Champions League back to back. Made signings like Ryan Bertrand, a very sturdy option at left back, Boubakary Soumaré in midfield is a very good signing. Patson Daka once again, a very strong signing to compete with Jamie Vardy and Kelechi Iheanacho up front in that striker spot for Leicester. So I think Leicester have really improved in their squad depth over the last, few transfer windows. And I think with the rest of the squad they have, with the likes of Wilfred Ndidi and Kasper Schmeichel and Thiago Sionchu, Ricardo Pereira, Jamie Vardy, Harvey Barnes, Yuri Tielemans, even James Maddison if he stays, I think Leicester have a really good squad. They play some very good football. Brendan Rodgers is an experienced manager at this level. I think Leicester are finally going to break into the top 4, and I think they are going to nip Liverpool to the top 4 spot, and yeah, I think Leicester will finish in 4th place. And now into 3rd place. Here is where it gets interesting with the potential 3-horse race for the title, but in 3rd place I've gone with Manchester United. Now don't get me wrong, Man United have made some very good signings, first of all with Jadon Sancho, who I think is going to absolutely light up the Premier League next season, alongside the likes of Fernandes and Rashford and Greenwood and players who are already there, Paul Pogba in midfield, and Raphael Varane I think massively improves their defence alongside Harry Maguire, one of the best centre-back partnerships in the league, and then you have Luke Shaw and Aaron Wan-Bissaka as fullbacks. But to be honest, there's 2 main reasons, in my personal opinion anyway, why Man United won't go to the very end in the Premier League title race this season. The first one is because they don't have a proper holding midfielder. They're probably going to have to go in with Scott McTominay and or Fred in the midfield. I think if Man United went out and got someone like Wilfred Ndidi or Declan Rice, or even went for Boubakary Soumaré from Leicester, I think Man United would definitely be one of the favourites for the Premier League title race this season. And the other one is probably a bit harsh in my personal opinion, but Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I just cannot see him for the life of me winning a Premier League title as manager of Man United, to be honest. There's just something about him, and don't get me wrong, I think he's done a really good job with United in the last few years and proved a lot of people wrong with the fact he's come second in the Premier League, only, behind Man City last season in the Premier League title race. But I just can't see for the life of me how he turns Man United into title winners next season, and that's one of the 2 reasons, of course, why I don't think Man United will be able to go the full way in the Premier League title race. However, I think Man United will have a really good season. It will be an exciting season, of course, but as I said, with the likes of Sancho and Fernandes and Rashford and those exciting attackers they do have, with Varane and Maguire in centre-back as well, I think United will have quite a good season, and I think they will finish 3rd in the Premier League. And here we go, the top 2. Who do I think is just about missing out on the Premier League title? Of course, the 2 teams we have left. We have Man City and my club Chelsea. Who do I think is winning the Premier League in 2021-2022? Well, first of all, we'll start with the 2nd place team, and don't get me wrong, this was a massively hard decision to make, but in 2nd place, I've gone by the skins of my teeth. I've gone with Man City to come in 2nd place. I know I'm going to get a lot of stick in the comment section below for, of course, the team I've predicted to win the league, but just hear me out. Man City, first of all, I'll go into in 2nd place. They've signed Jack Grealish, a massive signing in my personal opinion, and will help massively in terms of, the distribution of creativity along with Kevin De Bruyne in the City team. And don't get me wrong, I think Pep Guardiola will definitely be, willing to get one over Chelsea next season, and definitely be hungry to win the Premier League title next season. With the fact they've got Jack Grealish, they might sign Harry Kane as well, which would just make them absolutely unbelievable. And yeah, City have an unbelievable squad, of course. Ruben Diaz coming off 1 season in the Premier League, João Cancelo at right back, Ilkay Gundogan off the best season he's ever had in my personal opinion in his career last season, Rodri, Raheem Sterling, Phil Foden about to break through the season once again, Riyad Mahrez. City just have an unbelievable squad, but I think that City once again are going to be going all guns blazing for the Champions League next season, especially in front of the fans being able to witness those games in the Champions League next season. And that's why I think that City will finish 2nd, and the reason why I think Chelsea, of course, as I said, will come 1st place in the Premier League and claim Premier League glory next season. There's a few reasons. First of all, I think if you look at Chelsea last season, when Thomas Tuchel took over, there was no real problems whatsoever, apart from the goal scoring department, and we've went out and we've bought Romelu Lukaku for £100 million, an unbelievable signing. guaranteed goals in the Premier League. He'll get 20 plus goals minimum in the Premier League next season. And yeah, in terms of defensively, we're absolutely unbelievable. We're as solid as ever. We're going to probably sign Jules Koundé as well to add to a back three of Rudiger, Christensen, Thiago Silva, Azpilicueta, Chilwell and James as fullbacks, Mendy in goal, Jorginho, Kante, Kovacic in midfield. Then you have the likes of Pulisic, Mount, Havertz, Ziyech, Hudson-Odoi, Werner, Lukaku up front. I think our depth is up there with Man City, if not a little bit better, to be honest, in terms of the quality we have in the starting 11 and of course the bench players as well. And I think one reason as well that's definitely gone under the radar in terms of people predicting Man City to win the league is the fact that Thomas Tuchel proved last season his tactical ability to win the top games is absolutely unrivaled in the Premier League, because every single big game he had last season against one of the top 6 clubs or in the Champions League, he won absolutely every single one of them with flying colours, which I think is going to be massive next season if he can continue that form against the big teams next season. Because the main reasons why teams win the Premier League first and foremost is because of the defence. That's a box tick massively, and secondly is taking points off the teams around them, which I think Thomas Tuchel will definitely be able to accomplish as Chelsea manager next season, which of course just leaves there to be, will we be able to pick up enough points against the smaller teams next season? I definitely do think so, with the acquisition of Romelu Lukaku up front for Chelsea next season. I think he's a striker like Diego Costa and like Didier Drogba that will be able to turn draws into wins by himself with a click of his fingers, with a goal out of absolutely nothing. And yet, call it bias, call it whatever you want, I think Chelsea Football Club will be winning the Premier League in 2021-22, and I'm sure a lot of you guys will disagree with me, but yeah, let me know why in the comment section below. So yeah, as you can see on your screen at this moment in time, that is my predicted final table for the 2021-2022 Premier League season. I'm sure a lot of you will disagree with this, and to be honest, rightly so, because I'll probably get, you know, at least 3/4 of these wrong, but hopefully we can do well this season in the Premier League predictions. Leave your predictions down in the comment section below as per usual. I'm really interested to see, as usual, what you guys think the Premier League table will finish as come May 2022. And yeah, that will bring us to the end of this video. So if you did enjoy this video, as per usual, if you could drop a like rating, that would be absolutely massively appreciated. And also if you could subscribe to the channel as well, that would be massively appreciated by myself. We are looking to 1.7k subscribers on this channel as soon as we bloody well possibly can. And yeah, that'll bring us to the end of this video. So yeah, I'll see you guys later.